All right, so today we're going to dive into some really cool stuff. You know how when you're building, let's say, a really complex Lego creation, you're kind of like meticulously picking each brick and putting it together?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you had this super smart, like Lego buddy, who not only knew which brick you needed next, but also started assembling parts of it based on what you were thinking. That's kind of the crazy potential we're seeing with these AI agentic code editors.
Right.
And you've brought a whole bunch of really interesting stuff for us to dig into today. We've got articles buzzing all over DEV community, some really insightful pieces from DataCamp and Escapism AI, even got some inside info straight from Codium themselves, plus a hands-on look from that Tech with Tim guy, and then a few like really in-depth analyses. And it's all focused on this one tool that's making a lot of noise right now. It's called Windsurf. So our mission today is to basically take all this awesome info, break it down, and figure out what makes Windsurf tick. And more importantly, does it actually live up to the hype? Could it really change the way we code, no matter, where you are on your coding journey?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The ambition behind Windsurf is really what sets it apart. Launched just last November by Codium, they're calling it the first agentic IDE. Now, we've all seen those AI co-pilots, right? They kind of chime in with suggestions as you're coding.
Yeah.
Windsurf wants to take that way further. They're integrating AI agents. And these agents don't just offer help. They're meant to handle entire tasks more independently. And the end goal, to really get developers into that flow state.
Oh, yeah.
That zone where coding just feels effortless.
Yeah, that's the dream. And as I was going through all this material, a few things really jumped out at me. First, there's this thing called Cascade, and it sounds like it's the brains behind Windsurf, like how it understands your entire code base, allowing it to do crazy things like editing multiple files simultaneously. It can even suggest and execute commands, even helps with debugging across your whole project.
Yeah.
And then there's this other thing, super complete. It's like code completion on steroids. Like it's trying to figure out not just your next line of code, but your entire intention. And then, of course, there's the big one, the agentic capabilities. The idea that the AI can act on its own to really understand what you're trying to achieve, and then just go and execute those tasks.
Right.
And what really impressed me was the focus on privacy. They're saying they don't train on your non-permissive data, everything's encrypted, and they even have an option for zero data retention.
Interesting.
Oh, and a big plus, it integrates with your existing VS Code setup.
Okay.
It's got plugin compatibility, and it even filters out plugins that could slow things down, so performance stays nice and smooth.
Smart. Yeah, so it's clear that Windsurf is trying to do something really different in this whole world of developer tools, which is exploding right now. And as you mentioned, the point of today's deep dive is to really get under the hood, see what makes these core features tick, and how they compare to other AI-powered editors like Cursor, which a lot of people are already using.
Right.
And then the big question, how might Windsurf change the way software is developed?
Absolutely.
What does that mean for all of us who are building stuff with code?
To really understand this whole idea of agentic capabilities, I thought it might be fun to use an analogy. Imagine you're Luke Skywalker, just starting out with his lightsaber. Every swing, every block, that's you, the programmer, learning the ropes, mastering the syntax, the craft.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, those AI-powered editors that just offer suggestions and autocomplete like a souped-up VS Code, they're kind of like having Yoda there, giving you pointers, but you're still the one holding the lightsaber.
Makes sense.
But Windsurf, with its agentic ambitions, it's aiming to be more like R2-D2. Not just beeping out advice now and then, but actually taking action. Like patching up the Millennium Falcon when it gets hit that's fixing bugs, or even calculating a hyperspace route through a dangerous asteroid field that could be offering architectural suggestions. It's acting like proactively on your behalf.
Yeah, like a coding partner that anticipates what you need.
Exactly. And the material you brought really gets into the nitty-gritty of how they're doing this. They've got this flows system, which seems to be the secret sauce that blends AI agents and co-pilots together. It's all about keeping the AI and the developer totally in sync, like having a shared understanding of the whole code base.
Yeah, the flows concept really emphasizes that seamless integration. It's not just two separate things running side by side.
Right.
They're trying to build this unified environment.
Yeah.
Where the AI and the developer are constantly feeding off each other's understanding of the project.
It's pretty wild. And then there's trajectories, Basically, they track every single thing you do in the editor.
Oh, wow.
What files you look at, what edits you make, everything. It's building a timeline of your activity.
So it doesn't lose track of what you were just working on.
Exactly. And then they have this meta-learning thing. So the AI starts picking up on your personal preferences, like which libraries you use for certain tasks, your coding style. It's like the AI is learning you.
That's fascinating. The more you use Windsurf, the better it gets to know you as a developer.
Yeah, totally. So let's get into some of these headline features. Cascade seems to be the real heavy lifter here.
Yeah.
All the sources are talking about how it can understand even the most massive, crazy complex code bases.
Mm-hmm.
And remember how I said it can suggest and execute commands? Well, that even includes terminal commands. I saw that Tech with Tim video, and he showed Windsurf actually running npm create vite at latest to start a new React project.
Wow. So it can even handle stuff you'd normally do in the terminal.
Yeah, it was pretty mind-blowing. And it's smart enough to pick up right where you left off, which, you know, could be a huge time saver.
Absolutely.
It also does this really cool thing with multi-file editing. Like, if you need to make a consistent change across, say, a dozen different files, Cascade can supposedly handle it, no problem.
That's a game changer.
And get this, you can even upload an image into Cascade, like a screenshot of a design, and it'll try to generate the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for it.
No way.
Yeah, so imagine how fast you could prototype user interfaces.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, that really bridges the gap between the visual design and the actual code.
Exactly. And it's got web search built right in. So if you're trying to figure out some new library or you're lost in API documentation, you can get context without even leaving your editor.
Nice.
And to keep everything in context, it uses a local index of your entire code base. So it's not just looking at what you've recently had open.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially as projects get larger and more complex.
Yeah. And then we get into memories. These are rules you can set up, like always use this authentication method. And it also remembers patterns you've used in the past, like conversations you've had with it.
That's cool.
You can even define AI rules, basically telling Cascade about the specific languages, frameworks, and APIs you're using. It's like giving your AI assistant a copy of your team's coding style guide.
So you can make sure it's generating code that fits right in.
Right. And for those times when you're stuck in the terminal, they have an AI terminal that understands natural language.
Oh, wow.
So you can say something like, generate a code snippet for connecting to a database, and it'll do it.
Wow. So you have an AI pair programmer even when you're working in the terminal.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's where things get really wild. Cascade actually has different modes of operation.
Different modes.
Yeah. There's Cascade write mode, which is almost like having an autonomous coding agent. It can do things like create files, run scripts, even handle testing and debugging.
Hold on. So it can just go ahead and change your code without you doing anything?
Well, not exactly. It needs your approval before it takes any major actions.
Oh, okay. So you still have control.
Absolutely. Then there's Cascade chat mode, which is more interactive. You're working with code and instructions, and about half of the process is automated.
So it's more of a collaboration.
Exactly. And if you just need a general AI helper without any specific project context, there's Cascade Legacy mode, which is kind of like using ChatGPT for code.
I see. So it's very versatile.
Yeah, and you can use @mentions to reference specific parts of your code, giving the AI super precise context for what you're asking it to do. All right, so let's move on to super complete. Now, this is more than just predicting the next word or line of code.
Oh, yeah.
It's trying to really understand what you're trying to achieve, your intent, and then it can generate entire functions, complete with documentation.
Oh, wow.
And if you just need to make quick changes or tweak things, there's inline AI. You hit Shushil plus I, and boom, you can make edits to specific lines of code, generate documentation, even refactor stuff.
So that's for more fine-grained control.
Yeah. Another really cool feature is Windsurf previews. This lets you see your website live as you're building it right inside the editor, and you can even use Cascade commands to instantly reshape elements.
So no more constantly switching between the editor and the browser to see how things look.
Nope. And it's got linter integration built in, so it can automatically find and fix errors in the code that the AI generates.
Nice safety net.
Yeah. They also have this Model Context Protocol, or MCP, which lets you connect Windsurf to your own tools and services.
Okay.
So it can be really customized and fit into your existing workflow.
So it's not just a standalone tool.
Right. To help you navigate your code faster, there's Tab to Jump, which tries to predict where you're going next.
Hmm.
And you can use natural language commands right in the editor to generate or refactor code with inline command plus follow-ups. Just hit CMD plus I. And you can even give natural language instructions to the terminal with command in terminal, also CMD plus I. Finally, you've got highlighted code actions, which let you interact with selected code, like for quick refactoring or getting more info.
It definitely sounds like they've thought of everything.
Yeah, they really seem to have considered all those little annoyances that we all deal with as developers. Now, one thing that stood out in all the material is Windsurf's emphasis on privacy. They're super clear about not training on your data without permission. They encrypt everything. And you even have that zero-day data retention option.
Well, that's a big deal, especially these days with everyone so concerned about data privacy.
Totally. And despite all these built-in features, they haven't locked you in. It works seamlessly with VS Code plugins.
Oh, good.
Although they do filter out plugins that could slow things down.
Smart.
So you still get the customization, but with good performance. So how does Windsurf compare to a more established tool like Cursor AI, based on all this research you've done?
Oh, well, the first thing that jumps out is pricing. A lot of people mention that Windsurf is quite a bit more affordable. Like the Pro plan is usually around $10 to $15 a month, while Cursor is closer to $20.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So for individual developers, that could be a big factor.
Definitely. Another difference is context awareness. Windsurf automatically indexes your entire code base, whereas with Cursor, you might need to set that up manually.
Right. So Windsurf could save you a lot of time and effort.
Yeah. And when it comes to multi-file editing, Windsurf's Cascade lets you write directly with pre-approval, while Cursor's Composer apparently requires more review steps.
So it's a slightly different approach to how the AI interacts with your code.
Right. Now, in terms of performance, Windsurf seems to get really good marks for its speed, especially with large projects. But I did see some people mentioning occasional lag with real-time suggestions.
Okay.
And as we said, Windsurf is really upfront about their privacy-first approach.
Yeah.
Some folks also said that Windsurf's interface is cleaner and easier to use. It's important to remember, though, that Windsurf is newer, right? It launched in November 2024, while Cursor has been around since March 2023.
Yeah, so it's still early days.
Right. Okay, so what are people actually saying about Windsurf, out there in the wild?
Well, overall, the feedback seems pretty positive. People are really impressed with how fast it is, how much you can customize it, the whole privacy thing, and how well it understands their projects.
Right.
But there are some issues that keep popping up. Like I saw a comment on DV community from someone called Siberians. They were getting these cascade errors when they try to write files on a Mac.
So maybe some platform-specific bugs.
Yeah, could be. And then there's Vyacheslav Tarshevsky. He said Windsurf has potential. But as of November last year, he felt the context selection and autocomplete weren't as good as Cursor.
Interesting.
But someone named Michael Amicree responded to that and said he'd had a totally different experience. He thought maybe Vyacheslav wasn't being specific enough with his prompts, which I think highlights an important point. The way you interact with the AI can really impact the results.
For sure. There were some concerns about the limitations of the free tier. In Tech with Tim's video, he pointed out that you can't modify files with the free version.
Oh.
And there were a few comments about changes to the pricing model. It sounds like it was initially free with pro features for a limited time, but then they changed it so that write mode requires a paid subscription.
Yeah, it's always tricky with these new tools figuring out how the pricing will shake out.
Totally. And lastly, someone named Joe was having trouble with a specific VS Code extension, the .NET MUI one. So even though Windsurf is supposed to be compatible with most plugins, there might still be some hiccups here and there.
Yeah, especially with more niche extensions.
Okay, let's go back to this whole idea of agentic.
Right.
What does that really mean in practice? It seems like it's about moving beyond just simple code completion to actually understanding your goals and helping you achieve them.
Right.
Like imagine describing a complex UI component in plain English. And Windsurf not only proposes the architecture and generates the code, but also suggests the unit tests.
Wow. I mean, that could really change the way we approach software development, freeing us up to think more about the big picture.
Absolutely. And it's not just about writing new code.
No.
It could also proactively refine and optimize existing code. Imagine the AI suggesting refactoring, identifying performance issues, even flagging security vulnerabilities.
And all without you having to ask. It's like having another set of eyes on your code.
Yeah, a really smart set of eyes. And then there's agentic debugging and testing. It could flag errors before you even run your code and even automatically generate test cases.
Oh, that's awesome.
And some people are even talking about collaborative coding agents, like multiple AIs working together on different parts of a project.
Wow.
That's getting pretty sci-fi. All right, so based on everything we've talked about today, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think this whole move towards agentic capabilities is going to fundamentally change how we code. We'll move away from typing every line of code ourselves to a more collaborative partnership with AI agents like Windsurf.
Interesting.
Developers will focus on guiding the AI, architecting the solution, and reviewing the AI's work. The AI will do the heavy lifting of coding, testing, and optimizing. Less manual coding, more strategic direction. What do you think?
It's a very compelling prediction. It does seem like that's where things are heading.
Right.
It could redefine what it even means to be a programmer.
Totally. All right, so for you listening, what are the key takeaways from our Windsurf deep dive?
Well, first of all, it's a new kind of code editor that goes way beyond those basic AI suggestions.
Right.
It wants to give you a proactive, almost autonomous coding experience. Features like Cascade and Supercomplete are really impressive.
Yeah.
And the focus on privacy and the fact that you can extend it with VS Code plugins are big pluses. Now, it's still early days, and things like the pricing model are still changing, so keep an eye on that. But the rise of these agentic capabilities is really exciting. It could change how we all approach our coding projects.
Yeah, it's worth paying attention to.
Now, here's a final thought to leave you with. What if these agentic code editors become the standard? Will that change the definition of a programmer? If the AI is handling the syntax, the implementation, even the testing, what are we going to be doing? We'll be more about problem solving, high-level design, thinking about the ethics of our code, and making sure the AI is doing a good job. It's a big question to think about. It is, because those human skills will become even more important.
Totally. So if you want to check out Windsurf for yourself, head over to codium.com/Windsurf. They've got all the info there on features and pricing. You can try out the free tier or go for the pro options if you want to really test out those agentic capabilities.
Yeah, give it a try.
And keep an eye on the discussions in developer communities like DEV community to see how it's evolving and how people are using it. Think about how these features could fit into your workflow.
Yeah.
Maybe you can unlock some next level productivity or tackle even bigger projects.
Absolutely.
And above all, stay curious about this whole field of AI and coding.
Yeah, because it's changing everything.
Tools like Windsurf are just the beginning.
It's an exciting time to be a developer.
It really is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.